I am about to play a video which shows a police officer throwing an object at a suspect and the suspect ends up passing away. After the video, I will explain whether the officer was legally justified in what he did. So as you saw in the video, the police officer, whose name is Erik Duran, ended up trying to catch a fleeing suspect on a bike, and the way that he did that was he threw a cooler at that suspect, who ended up having an accident on that bike and then passing away. Ironically, the person who passed away is also named Eric, and his last name is Duprey, but the cop's last name is Duran. So the question is, what could happen to the cop, and was he legally justified? Well, the cop has actually been hit with 4 separate charges as a result of this incident, and they're quite serious if you look at them. There's a manslaughter in the 2nd degree charge, a criminally negligent homicide, and a 1st degree and 2nd degree assault. Can the cop be convicted of these charges? Is he going to be held legally liable based on what occurred? Well, first of all, you would have to actually look at the statutes themselves. So for manslaughter in the 2nd degree, the statute under section 125.15 of the NY penal law states that a person is guilty of manslaughter in the 2nd degree if they recklessly cause the death of another person. What do you notice about this statute? Well, it doesn't really require any planning. It doesn't require any specific intent. A person can simply be reckless, which means that their mental state could be such that even though they didn't have the intent to cause another to pass away, they were merely reckless. Some may even say, as far as a layperson is concerned, they were careless in doing so. Now, going on to the 2nd charge, criminally negligent homicide, that statute under section 125.10 states that a person is guilty of criminally negligent homicide when, with criminal negligence, they cause another to pass away. Again, there has to be criminal negligence, which again does not require a person to have intended the outcome. They can simply be very careless in having it occur, and case law would obviously define what criminal negligence is, but the mental state requirement is such that a person, knowing that there's a possibility of an outcome, took an action which led to a person passing away. Now, as far as 1st and 2nd degree assault is, those are different degrees of assault, and most people understand what assault is, which is putting another person in fear of the fact that force could be used against them without their consent, or actually using that force. So that is essentially what assault is. So when you look at all of the charges and the wording of the statutes, the most important thing that sticks out to me is the mental state requirement. The police officer did not have to know, did not have to be certain about the outcome when he threw that water cooler. He simply had to be careless in doing so, careless, reckless, criminally negligent in doing so for him to be convicted under the statutes. Therefore, he certainly could be. Now, there's a practical difficulty with that, which is that it is typically very difficult to convict police officers because a lot of people simply assume that they are essentially simply doing their jobs, that they didn't intend anything bad to occur, and they have to be given special dispensation due to to how difficult their jobs are. I believe that in this instance, anybody with a brain would understand that if a person is on a bike and you throw something at them, they may have a serious accident. So there's a strong possibility of the fact that the officer could be convicted at least of the assault charges, but you never know, especially when you are dealing with the goodwill that people generally have for police officers. But this is an important case, and I'll tell you a story. There was an individual in the same place where this occurred in New York who was selling cigarettes outside of a store. Police was called on him. When police officers arrived, they got into an argument. They asked to see his ID, and a dispute ensued in which one officer ended up choking him from behind while the others held his arm. He ended up passing away as a result of that. This is why it's so important to hold police accountable, to ensure that situations like that do not occur. That man's name who ended up dying was called Eric Duran. So unless cops are held accountable, this can occur. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this particular case. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.